welcome back to the Mountain Morning Show. Today we are having a pickling party. I've been talking about it all morning because I am so stoked, and you can see this is a gorgeous display from Park City Nursery. We have Sophie, Miles Kohler, and our amateur pickler Tim Brennan here today. How are you guys?
Great.
Fantastic.
Excited.
It's a gorgeous day.
I know, it's really awesome outside. You can see it. We left the cameras up just because it's too nice not to. Sophie, what's going on at Park City Nursery?
Yeah, so last time we were here talking with you, Kelly, we talked about how to grow vegetables successfully at high altitude in Park City. And today we're here to talk about what to do with your harvest.
Right.
And specifically to give a little tutorial on how to do a quick pickle or refrigerator pickle. So as predictable as she can be, sure enough, Mother Nature is probably going to give us our first freeze tomorrow night.
Pretty soon. It's happening pretty soon.
So now is the ideal time to pluck those veggies that are still on the vine, that are still healthy and crisp, and enjoy them in the form of a pickle. At the nursery, we are lucky enough to have customers that come in and they share their harvest, or they share recipes, or they share maybe even a homemade treat. And Tim is one of these customers that has shared his passion for pickling. And pickling is so fun and so easy. You don't have to do the canning or preserving steps, and they can last in your fridge for up to 2 months.
Wow.
That we wanted to extend his know-how to all of you.
Well, if I understand right, you get all of your harvest from Park City Nursery, either from seed, from start, maybe you go out and buy it.
Absolutely true. These tomatoes in particular, got those from seed with a very special soil that we got from Park City Nursery. My tomato forest is abundant, and with the freeze that is upcoming and the cold temps, I have so many green tomatoes, so I needed something to do with them.
Right.
And this quick refrigerator pickle is a great way to capture the freshness of the vegetables even before they're fully ripe, and then keep them through the early parts of the winter.
Right. Oh my gosh. Well, this is such a great idea for all of you who may have not picked your harvest yet. You might want to start picking now. You're going to have an abundance, and you'll want a pickle to keep them around.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get started. I've never pickled before, so you're really going to have to hold my hands.
Well, it's super easy. A lot of these pickles that have already done, that I did those last night with my kids. It's super fun and super easy. It's really 4 simple steps. So there's cut your vegetables and salt them.
Which we've done. These are the salted vegetables.
These are salted, rinsed, and ready to go. These are chopped. These are going to get salted. So if you want to pour a half cup of salt all over those.
I was just about to ask how much salt.
Yeah, half cup of salt. Just dump it all over.
I'm afraid.
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid.
Okay.
And then just stir it up with a spatula a little bit.
Perfect.
So half a cup of salt. It does seem excessive.
It does.
Half a cup of salt, and they're going to sit for an hour.
Wow.
And they're just going to leach out the liquid. And even while we sit here during this time, you'll see that a lot of liquid's going to come out. That's perfect.
So when the liquid comes out, what happens next?
So once that hour is up, you rinse them off, you drain all the salt off, put them in a colander, go back and forth in the bowl, fill them up with water, dump it out. You really want to get all that excess salt off, because what you're doing, you're using the salt to draw out all the internal liquids in, and then you're going to replace that liquid with flavor, which is our brine, which is the next step.
Cool. Okay, so the rinsing is very important.
Very important. But the cool thing is, active time, you're like talking about 10 minutes, because while this is sitting for an hour, you can do everything else in preparation, which is awesome. So for a jar this size, you're talking about 8 parts of liquid. Okay. So let's make our brine.
Okay.
So you want to fill up, this is a 1/4 cup, and I've kind of perfected this a bit. 8 1/4 cups make up the total quantity that we need.
8 1/4 cups into this pot?
No, we're going to do 4 parts of water. So fill up 4 waters and pour into the pot.
So half water.
Half water.
Half water. Okay, so 4 of these.
Yeah.
Okay. Does it have to be exact?
No, in fact, if you're a little heavy-handed, it's better, because you want the pickle jar to be as full as possible. So.
Okay.
And Tim, as far as prep, so you have these beautiful little cucumbers and onions salting.
Sure.
You cut them into spears. Was that just personal preference? Or?
Yeah, I like the way a long cucumber looks in the jar. If this were a fatter cucumber, I might have gone discs to just kind of, it really, whatever you want to do. I could have gone these even into, you know, thinner spears, into quarters. It's really your preference. You can do them whole. It just takes longer on the salt.
Yeah, and I figured the flavor might have a harder time penetrating.
Exactly.
So, and also noticed you added onions to this.
Sure.
Is that for flavor?
Flavor, for color, you know, it just looks pretty in the jar.
Okay.
I love onions, and onions and pickles go really well together, so it just kind of balances out.
I know.
Next thing we do is vinegar. It's kind of a critical component. I really like rice vinegar. I find that just the balance of flavor that the rice vinegar has as opposed to a white vinegar or a cider vinegar works great, but you can use any vinegar you want.
How does this affect the flavor?
It gives you that pickle,
Does
the
it?
characteristic pickle that you think of.
How many?
Is the vinegar. Do 2 of those.
2. Wow, it doesn't seem like that much. I guess, well, vinegar is such a strong flavor, you don't want to overpower it.
Well, and the other thing we're going to do is we're going to taste it, and you're going to be like, do I want to add more salt?
Really?
Do I want to add more sugar? Do I want this to taste more like the ocean? How do I want my pickles to taste?
So you could taste your brine kind of all the way through.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, I'm not afraid of that.
All right. So the next thing we do over here, we have a bunch of spices. Okay. I've got fennel, mustard seed, pickling spice from the grocery store, peppercorns, allspice berries.
This is like a pre-mixed
pickling spice that you get at the grocery store.
Smells good.
Coriander, chili flake, and again, it's kind of whatever sort of flavors you want. So if you want to grab those measuring spoons right there,
Okay.
grab the teaspoon, that guy right on top.
That's a half. There we go.
So, do you like fennel? Do you like anise?
I do like fennel. I like any kind of, you know, oniony, licoricey.
Put a teaspoon of that in there.
Okay. So, how do you choose your spices?
It's, again, personal preference. You can't really go wrong. That's mustard seed. It's you can't really smell it too much. It really opens up once it gets into the liquid. It's a pretty common pickling ad.
Yeah, you see these little.
So a teaspoon of each?
Teaspoon of each.
Because there is such a thing as
Everything.
over seasoning your pickle.
There is such a thing as over seasoning the pickle, but we're trying to make this be one part. So 3 to 4 tablespoons or teaspoons, excuse me, is about that one part.
So we've done 3.
We've done 3.
Are we gonna do one more? Or are we gonna call it good?
Do you like spice?
I do like spice.
Let's put some red pepper flake in there. You can do maybe a half.
Go wrong.
Maybe you can do a full teaspoon, or you can do a half.
We'll go for like 3/4.
Okay.
Just for, you know, good measure.
Great. So if
That looks pretty already.
So we have 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay.
Now we need our final part.
Which is
You can do, you know, a little more vinegar water, or if you want to go on the sweet side, you can go with agave, honey, maple syrup. It all kind of depends. So do you like your pickles sweet, or do you like them more sour?
I actually like them more sour.
Okay, well then let's go with more vinegar.
Okay, so do you only add the agave and the maple syrup if you want the sweeter pickle?
Yeah, that's generally my kind of take on it.
Okay.
Even if we were to put just a little bit in there, it's not going to overpower.
Okay.
But if you like things briny, then stick with the.
I like briny.
All right, then do a whole nother quarter cup of.
So
of
this is
vinegar.
our 8th.
Yes,
So
it
we are
is.
done after this.
Yeah.
Then what happens?
Then we've got that heat on, possibly.
Let's see. I don't think we have it on.
Okay, that's okay.
We sure can figure it out. How high?
Put it on high.
Let's see.
Are we boiling?
We're going to simmer, so we just want to bring it up.
Okay.
Here's your whisk if you want
Thanks.
to give that a little stir. And so the pickles themselves from the salting process have a lot of salt that they're going to bring to the party.
Okay.
But when we taste that, we might find that, hey, you know what, I think it actually needs a little bit more salt. Or if you want maybe just a teeny bit of sweetness to help with the absorption, then we might add a little bit of sugar, which I've got salt and sugar here.
Okay, you wouldn't add the honey?
You could add the honey or sugar. It's any sweetener you want to
Really sounds like
add.
you can add just about anything.
You really can. That's
Add
kind of the
honey,
fun
add
part.
Sugar, add the vinegar, whatever spices.
Whatever's
It's
in your
true.
pantry.
Seriously, this is not hard. I thought, oh gosh, I did not know how to do this, and I
Yeah.
thought I was going to be in trouble.
No, not at all. So why don't we all see what we think here? So here's a spoon.
I guess what my biggest worry is mixing the spices. I'm not a spice connoisseur.
So there's vinegar in there, so sip gingerly.
Lightly. You guys have to try it with me, though.
Of course.
So what if you were adding
Oh, that's
other
good.
Yeah.
spicy flavors like a garlic or ginger? At what point would you add those in?
So What you can do, there's a couple different options there. You can either put them into the salt with the vegetables, or at this point, we could put them into the brine,
Okay.
which with these pickles, I think adding maybe 3 or 4 cloves of garlic would be a great idea, Sophie.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Sophie, go for it. Join
Because
in.
I already smell like garlic feeling these babies, so.
So, what do you think of the taste?
I love it. I mean, I can honestly just drink that.
Do you think it needs salt? Do you think it needs sugar? Is your
No
palate
sugar.
telling you anything? Okay.
No sugar. I do like it very vinegary.
Okay.
If anything, maybe a little bit of salt.
Perfect.
But not much.
Let's do it.
What did you guys think?
I agree with you on the salt.
Do
Sophie?
you?
I think that adding just a touch of a sweetener provides a fuller flavor, and
Okay.
it doesn't get sweet until you add quite a bit of a sweetener of your choice.
So we need to add a touch.
I would put in at least a teaspoon of regular
Yeah.
sugar.
Let's do it. How much salt?
So I would do, that's sugar. So let's
How
do
much sugar?
to a teaspoon of sugar.
Okay.
Perfect. And then let's do a full teaspoon of salt. And again, because we're cooking, we want to taste our food. So go ahead and whisk it up.
So this is all just, you're adding things based off of taste.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. There's the whole concept of the parts is, I guess, the scientific piece, but the rest of it is just taste. And I learned this method. For my birthday, I got a cookbook called Eat Like a Man. It's Esquire cookbook. It's amazing. And Hugh Atchison, sorry.
That's funny.
Hugh Atchison, a pretty famous chef from Atlanta, has a
try
bread and
this.
butter pickles recipe, and this is kind of his
I do like those.
process. Well, I will share that recipe with you.
You should. You
Yeah.
know, that's the only sweet pickle I like is the bread and butter.
Well, now for next time.
Oh, the aroma is making
I
me want to
know.
sneeze.
We need to back up a little bit.
That
Should
happens.
we try it again?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you care if I double
Vinegar.
dip?
Yeah, double
on
dip.
fire.
It's your
Okay.
pickle.
This is my pickle. This is my pickle.
It is.
Wow.
Is it
I
getting
like it
good?
the way
You
it
happy?
is. I like it. Okay.
All right. So we're done. That's going to simmer,
Okay.
and we're good. So the next thing you get to decide: do you want green tomatoes? Do you want radishes, or do you want beets?
And these are the pre-salted and rinsed.
Exactly.
So these have
Yes.
sat for their hour
Just
in
like
their
these
salt.
cucumbers in the bowl.
Right. I did those last night, salted for an hour, rinsed them, ready to go, in the jar, your preference.
Let's go with beets.
Beets.
I like
Beets
me
it
beets.
is. Perfect. So we'll let that come up to temperature just a little bit more.
Okay.
And then
You pour the liquid in the jar.
you pour the liquid straight in the jar.
Really?
So you don't
you're
even-
not. Oh my gosh. This is
don't
like a
cook the
one pot dish. You know how much I love one pot dishes. It's the only way I like to cook.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So do we need to whisk anymore?
You can whisk it a little bit more if you want.
Okay.
It looks like it's coming up to a pretty good temp.
So basically, you let this simmer. Do you want to see bubbles?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Well, the whole thing, you just want the heat because the heat is going to help with the infusion process. You could pour it in room temperature.
Okay.
It's just not going to be as good.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good to know.
What about
And
our
then
herbs here?
Oh, the lovely herbs. Thank you,
Do you do
Sophie.
fresh
I
herbs?
neglected the herbs.
We
That's
gotta
just
do- we
wrong.
have to do herbs.
You have to do herbs.
This looks familiar in usual pickling
Dill,
jars.
absolutely. I think
Okay.
we have dill, oregano, thyme, and parsley, if I'm not mistaken, or cilantro.
Cilantro.
Perfect.
Cilantro.
So this is the point where you add the herbs.
'Kay.
You don't want to add the herbs to the brine. You want to add them into the jar with the
Oh, you
vegetable. Yeah, because
Do you just put it on top?
you put them on top. You can kind of stuff them in. Like
Okay.
on a few of these, I tried to make it pretty
yeah?
to stick them on the sides and things
He's all
like
about
that.
aesthetics.
Yeah.
He wants his spear a certain way.
I gotta get-
You're
gotta look
much
good.
color
Color
particular than I am. I'm
Yeah.
I'm just gonna eat this soon, so who cares?
So beets. Let's think about beets. Dill
Okay.
would go well with beets.
Yes.
I think oregano might be a little spicy on the beet. I think the thyme could go really well, and cilantro might be just like an interesting party in your beet.
No, I just want you to choose my herbs for me.
What do you think, Soph?
I'm agreeing with the thyme.
Okay, let's do thyme.
Thyme seems like a good match for beets.
Why don't you do? a few
Cilantro seems interesting. I'm a little nervous, but I'm sure I'll like it.
Don't be nervous.
Don't be afraid of the cilantro.
All right, we'll
We
get you
had a
some
cat on the
cilantro.
show yesterday named Cilantro.
All right. Well, on behalf of Cilantro the cat.
Yes, he needs to be
Then
adopted. If you
he's got
guys
a
want
party.
a cat, go adopt him.
I'm good on that. I love cats. I have a cat. I don't need another cat. Sydney would not like another cat in the house.
I'm trying to make this pretty.
That
I don't
looks
know if
pretty.
you guys can tell, but I have some.
It'll go
pretty
down
thyme.
when the
Okay.
liquid comes
Okay.
Would you like some?
We are bubbling here.
Cilantro. It's perfect. I turned the heat down to simmer, so we're good.
I'm just stuffing those ones in.
Yeah.
Not so
And
pretty.
I can kill the heat.
Okay, so
Are you ready to pour?
we pour it in. I'm gonna do it over the sink.
Yeah, great idea.
Just in case.
Yep.
And then what? How long do you let it sit before you actually eat it?
So once you,
And watch your fingers.
yeah, if
'cause
you
it
want
is
to
gonna be
set this,
hot.
let's
I'll
set
just
that
set it
guy
down.
in there.
Okay.
And then
about 3/4 of the way, Tim.
So
Pour-
glad you guys. I'm
You
so
can
glad
actually
guys are here.
pour it all.
Just
And
until
even if
fills
it
up.
even if it overflows, it's
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
You want to try and get as many of those spices and things. Keep
Yeah, knock
going.
that garlic
keep
in.
going.
Yeah.
Keep
Oh my
pouring.
gosh, the smell is making my nose kind of burn.
And then you know what? Even overflow it because we
Just
want to
go
get those
for it?
garlics in there.
Okay.
Make sure they hit it. And I've got little
might need it.
asbestos hands.
Yep.
There we go. Okay. So we've got the hot liquid in there.
Ooh,
Is it too hot to touch?
it's
It
doing
might
its
be a little
thing.
warm.
Okay.
So while it's in there, go ahead and screw the lid on, and you're going to get some overflow. So
That's all
just
right.
watch your fingers.
We're in the sink just for
Put
that
it up
reason.
front for everyone to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have a towel. Ta-da!
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Man, I don't know what I'd do without you guys. Can you please come over and pickle at my house and just make all my food?
We can do a pickle party. Look at that. That's
I think you
beautiful.
should charge for this, Tim, because this is gorgeous.
Look at that.
Can you guys see this?
I mean, talk about something to bring to the next dinner party that you're
Yes.
going to as
Yeah.
a contribution.
Or even just a gift.
Yeah.
This is such an easy gift to give others because
Totally.
everybody loves homemade everything. This is awesome.
And experimenting with pickles, you can think about the different meats that you can pair it with. So you
Yeah.
don't just have to eat it
Yes.
in a traditional pickle fashion. You can go nuts with your salads and your main courses too.
So, excuse me,
Is
to
it too
answer your
hot? You want
question,
the-
Careful.
no, it's just not on enough. There we go. So to answer your question, what you do here now is this goes straight into the refrigerator.
Okay.
And by the time it comes to refrigerator temperature, they're done.
Really?
And
so
then-
it just needs to cool down.
Just needs to cool down, and they're done. And then after that, as Sophie said, it stays in your refrigerator good for up to 2 months.
Oh my gosh, I love this. Well, guys, like you guys said, this is the perfect thing to do. If you have an abundance of beets, radishes, tomatoes, I mean anything, carrots, you have peppers over there, anything you have an abundance of, you don't know what to do, call Tim. He'll share some recipes with you, but it sounds like anything you like in terms of spices, herbs, vinegars, I mean, it's really pick and choose.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
especially to salvage your peppers or your cucumbers or your tomatoes that are still on their vine before we get our first frosts.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. Sophie,
Thanks,
Tim,
Kelly.
this was a lot of
Thank you,
fun
Kelly.
for me.
This is
I
a
might
bunch of
try
fun.
this at home now.
I hope that you do. It's super easy.
I just needed you guys here to give me that push because I don't know if I do this on my own. Well, I love this. I can't wait to share that with everybody I know.
Good. Perfect. Awesome.
Good
All
job.
right, guys, we still have a lot more coming on the show. I hope you enjoyed the pickling party. I know I did. We'll be back in just a few minutes right after this.